The Quiet Kick. A story every mother should hear. The first time Eliana felt her baby kick, she was standing by the window, bathed in the warm light of an April morning. The movement was so subtle, like a butterfly brushing against her inside. Sat for a moment. She thought she had imagined it, but when it happened again, she gasped, her hands flying to her belly, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and disbelief. A life inside her moving. That moment sealed something deep in her heart. From then on, her days were filled with a new kind of joy, one laced with an undercurrent of fear, of questions, of the unknown. In the car, in the shower, at night, while her husband Leo slept, and she lay awake with her hands cradling her belly like it held the most delicate treasure in the world. Her calendar was color-coded, her hospital bag packed at 28 weeks, and her fridge magnet held a list of emergency contacts, just in case. She began talking to her baby constantly. There were no paragraphs that could translate the invisible bond she felt with this tiny being. Each flutter was a reassurance, each gentle jab, a message. "I'm here, Mama." Eliana had always been a careful planner. She read every book she could find on pregnancy, attended prenatal yoga, and kept her appointments like sacred rituals. But no book ever quite captured the experience of carrying a soul that had not yet touched the earth. Then, at 31 weeks, something changed. Absent, maybe the baby was just sleepy, she told herself, or in a different position. It happened, right? The silence between them during the drive to the hospital was thick, only broken by Eliana whispering, over and over, "Please be okay. Please be okay." The nurse smiled. "There's your little one." It started subtly. The morning kicks she'd come to expect were still. She poked at her belly gently, waited, held her breath. Nothing. The day passed in a haze of unease. She drank cold juice, lay on her left side, played music, sang. Nothing stirred. Seek medical attention immediately if you experience bleeding, severe pain, sudden swelling, or lack of movement in your baby. She could no longer afford to second-guess her instincts. By evening, Eliana's intuition screamed, "A mother knows." She shared her story, and others shared theirs. Some had gone through the same kind of scare. The baby resumed, moving with more energy than ever, as if to say, stories of regret, of wishing they had gone to the hospital sooner, of brushing off a symptom that turned out to be something serious. Seek medical attention immediately if you experience bleeding, severe pain, sudden swelling, or lack of movement in your baby. But I am here to remind you that your instincts matter, that your body is speaking. Listen. Leo had taken to rubbing her feet every evening, whispering to the baby, "We're ready whenever you are, champ." "Sorry, Mom just needed a nap." But Eliana didn't take it lightly. That brush with fear changed something inside her, a sharp pain, different from anything she'd felt before. The words echoed in her mind like an alarm. Seek medical attention immediately. She realized that vigilance was not paranoia. It was love in its fiercest form. Leo, noticing her pale face and trembling hands, took the keys without a word. In the triage room, the nurse struggled to find a heartbeat. Eliana's own pulse thundered in her ears as the seconds dragged into an eternity. Then, familia whoosh, strong and rhythmic, filled the air. Eliana burst into tears, half from relief, half from the fear that had taken hold so fiercely. Her fingers gripped Leo's until the moment came, and then, a cry. Sharp, strong, angry. She told her story, not to frighten, but to empower. He looked up at her with eyes barely open, his tiny fingers curling around hers. "But you made it. We both made it." The doctor was kind, calm, and direct. "Everything looks okay now," she said. "But you did the right thing coming in." She paused, then added gently, "Pregnant women know the warning signs." Those words settled deep in Eliana's mind. She repeated them to herself later that night, lying in the hospital bed, the monitors beeping steadily. "Eliana stayed overnight for observation, and because I refused to believe that worrying made me weak, it made me strong. It made me a mother." Pregnant women know the warning signs. Seek medical attention immediately if you experience bleeding, severe pain, sudden swelling, or lack of movement in your baby. Like a room full of women saying, "We hear you, we understand, we are with you." But it's also a journey of intuition, of listening, of action. Noah is a loud, curious, dinosaur-obsessed little boy who insists on wearing mismatched socks and believes his mom is a superhero. The next week, Eliana joined an online support group for expecting mothers. Others, heartbreakingly, had stories with different endings. Holding Noah in her arms, she looked out at the room full of expectant faces, some glowing with joy, others masked with worry. In that space, a sisterhood formed, a community of women bonded by the quiet strength of motherhood and the shared vulnerability of carrying life. Eliana began volunteering for a local campaign called Every Kick Counts, speaking at community centers and prenatal classes. "I'm not here to scare you," she would say. She often repeated the doctor's words. "Pregnant women know the warning signs." Simple words, life-saving ones. By the time Eliana reached her 38th week, her belly was round and low, her gait slow and swaying. On a rainy Wednesday night, just after midnight, Eliana woke with a jolt. Not Braxton Hicks, not pressure, real pain and blood. She didn't wait, she didn't hesitate. Leo rushed her to the hospital again, heart pounding louder than the storm outside. Within minutes, she was admitted. The doctors moved swiftly, decisively. There was placental abruption, serious complication. Immediate action was necessary. Eliana was prepped for an emergency. The operating room was a blur of light and voices. Her baby boy. Safe. They named him Noah. In the recovery room, Eliana held him skin to skin, tears streaming freely. "You scared me," she whispered, laughing through the tears. Later, when the nurses came in to check on her, one young mother-to-be asked quietly, "How did you know it was time to come?" Eliana looked down at Noah, then back at the woman. "I didn't know everything," she said, "but I knew something wasn't right, and I listened." A few weeks later, Eliana was invited to speak at a local event for new mothers. She spoke from the heart. "Pregnancy is a miracle?" "Yes." She paused. She held up Noah gently. "This little one is here because I listened, because I acted." The applause was soft at first, then grew. Not loud or raucous, but steady, like a heartbeat. Epilogue: years later, Eliana still volunteers. Maybe, in a way she is, but she knows the truth. Heroes are just people who listen to their inner voice and act with courage. And sometimes, saving a life starts with a whisper in the womb and a mother who refuses to ignore the silence.